It was a performance evaluation for our city attorney. Our ad hoc committee met with the rest of the council members and the city manager, and we will be following up. There's no reportable items at this point. We'll be following up on that. And the second one was a conference on labor negotiations. I'll ask our city attorney to report out on that one.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council did meet with its labor negotiating team in closed session, received an update on those negotiations, but there was no reportable action to announce out at this time. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I will adjourn the special meeting, and we will immediately begin the regular meeting of the Temple City City Council for November 18th. Could we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Sternquist.
Present.
Councilmember Viscar is absent. Councilmember Yu.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Chavez.
Here.
Mayor Bloom.
Here. Entertain a
We
motion
move to excuse Councilmember Viscar for cause.
Second.
Okay, been moved in second. He's excused for cause. Okay, item 3 on the agenda is our invocation. Lynn Best, who's the head deacon for the Westminster Presbyterian Church, is here to provide the invocation, and she brought along with her, I believe, an interim pastor who
Yes.
you will introduce for us.
Yes. Charles, would you come up? Before I actually do the invocation, I would like to introduce our new interim pastor, Reverend Charles Castles. He just started with us about 4 weeks ago, and we're looking forward to working with him. After the invocation, he's going to make a couple of announcements about some activities that are coming up that we're inviting the community to during the month of December. So if you will please bow your heads. Dear God, we thank you for this opportunity to gather together and to work on those things that enrich and protect our city. Please bless and enliven those persons of the various committees, commissions, the city council, and all of the support staff. As we look to the celebration of Thanksgiving next week, help us to remember the sacrifices and suffering leading to that first Thanksgiving in 1623. May we never take for granted the freedoms that have come to us over the years, from the dream to have a nation where all are seen as equal and endowed by the Creator with inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Well, it is a pleasure to be in Temple City. I didn't know where Temple City was until I came to the church. And I've really enjoyed exploring the community and really think a lot of all of the traditions that I've heard about. And one of the things that happened after I moved to Monte Vista Grove up in Pasadena, I've been playing in the LA Police Band, the Burbank Community Band, and the Covina Band. And it just so happens that the Covina Band needed a place to play a Christmas concert. And our church has said, please come. And so I want to invite everyone on December 7th, a Sunday afternoon, first Sunday in the month, at 3 o'clock. We're going to have a really fine Christmas concert with about 50 musicians, and would be delighted if you would help us spread the word and could come and help celebrate the season with us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lynn and Pastor. Okay, could you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I've asked Ray Pena, coach of the U2 group, who's here, if he could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Flag over. Right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
Thank you, Ray. You know, it's really exciting to see all the youth here. You know, we do a lot. This is a very family-friendly city. We obviously have a lot of youth stuff going on, so it's delighted to see you all here. Hopefully, some years down the road, some of you may be sitting up here as city council members, so put that in the back of your mind, and maybe 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years from now, whatever it takes.
Wait a minute, not that old.
Okay, so we'll now go to item 5 on the agenda, which is presentations. The first presentations are going to go to the Temple City Library bookmark winners. And I don't know if our librarian Jing Lee is here. Okay. Karen Noyes?
Karen Noyes,
Hey,
yes.
Karen, you're on. Please tell us about that, and then we have some certificates to present here.
Certainly. For those who don't know me, my name is Karen Noyes. I'm your Children's Services Librarian here at Temple City Library. We're gathered this evening to celebrate our winners of our bookmark contest. The County Library, in cooperation with Pentel, has been sponsoring a bookmark contest for our youth in the County of Los Angeles for over 30 years. And this year's theme, Dream in Color, is the first year we had a bookmark entries done in color, and they're absolutely marvelous. I think, I don't know for sure, but we had, I think we had the most entries. We had 298 entries from our community, ranging from kindergarten through high school. They were absolutely amazing. It was so hard to choose. We have 4 flights of winners. 1 to 3, and I want to also thank City Council, especially the mayor, for coming, and our Friends Group as well, for coming and judging these wonderful bookmarks. It was so hard, and so tonight, the City Council is going to honor some of our winners here today, all of our winners here today, and some of them hopefully are here to accept this wonderful, wonderful proclamations in honor of their work and participation in their community.
Okay. There were 4 categories that the students participated in. One was kindergarten through 2nd grade, then 3rd through 5th, 6th through 8th, and then high school were the three categories. So I have the winners here. I'll come up, call the people up. I'll ask my council members to come up, help pass these certificates out. We then ask the winners if you could just stay up front here. We'll get a group picture. Our lead photographer here has got in his reserved seat right in the front here all the time. And if people in this community don't know Jerry Jambazian, Jerry, stand up and wave. He takes pictures of almost everything going on in Temple City here. And the only pay Jerry gets is the fun and satisfaction of doing it. So we thank you very, very much for doing that.
Who wants the thing?
I think we're gonna go.
Carl, who wants the thing now?
Okay, so I'll call the winners up at this time. We'll start with the kindergarten through 2nd grade category. And these certificates all read, they're presented on behalf of the citizens of Temple City to the individual person in recognition of your winning whatever prize it is for the 2014 Temple City Library Bookmark Contest. So the first place winner is Madison Lee. Second place winner is Chloe Cheng. Third place is Ginny Chuang. Okay, the 3rd to 5th grade category, first place will go to Allison Lee. Second place is Alan Zhou. And third place is Anthony Zhang. Okay, they must have had a lot of homework tonight or something. Yeah. Oh, okay. For the 6th to 8th grade category, first place is Sissy Yang. Second place is Amy Lau. Third place is Alice Tian. Okay, at the high school level, 9th to 12th grade, first place is Alex Yang. Alexis, excuse me. It's Alexis. Second place is Emily Sue. And third place is Holly Heo. Okay, the next group is going to be a presentation to the Temple City Amateur Softball Association. And I've asked I've asked Mr. Baseball of the council members to do it for us.
Baseball and softball. You know, I'll have to say, when we see this many people in our chambers for a meeting, we first thought is, uh-oh, what did we do wrong? But this is a great event. We're always pleased to honor our youth. You know, much of what Mayor Bloom said earlier about one of these days, some of you being up there in the dais as well, is actually true, because when we first moved to Temple City, one of the first things I did was to become a coach. We had 2 boys, and I coached Little League Baseball, and here I am up on the council. So you coaches out there, get ready. You know, you're on the right path. So, tonight we're here to honor our Temple City Youth Softball Association, otherwise known as TCASA, right? And Councilmember Sternquist and I have a recollection, because when we were both on Parks and Recreation, I believe right at the end is when this association was formed. So I think didn't Kathy, didn't worry? It was about the time that Cindy and I were ending our reigns on the Park Commission. And so a group of individuals came to us with a great idea of running a softball program. Of course, our softball up to that time had been run by our Little League, and now we have a dedicated program to our young ladies in our city, and it's a great program, and I know it's been doing very well.
Mayor Pro
And-
Tem?
Yes?
I just want to put in a plug for women on city council.
Oh, okay.
Take a look, ladies. We need some more of you up here.
And to add to that, we have a youth commission or a youth committee in our city, 7 students of high school age. They're all females. So they're on their way. Okay, so without further ado, we're here to honor both our 10 and under and our 8 and under All-Stars. And we'll be starting with our 10 and under All-Stars. And I'd like to call up their coach, Ray Pena, who will share some facts about the team, and we'll call the girls up one by one, and we'll get to take a picture. All right?
Good evening. Thank you for having us. And actually, just off of Mr. Chavez, what you said, when our league first got started, one of those key people that was involved in that is here with us, is Mr. Mike Wintercorn in the back, and because of him, we're here today. But as you guys see, with the turnout we have here from our girls, from our parents, that's what we experienced our whole All-Star season, which started in May and ended at the end of July. And seeing everybody here, that's exactly how all our tournaments were. We played in numerous tournaments, from Norco to Diamond Bar to the Arcadia one, which I got to say, we took that tournament. We won first place in that one. Before that, or right after that, we played in the Diamond Bar tournament, where I think one of our toughest losses of the tournament season was against our neighboring city, which was Almani, and that hurt. That really, really hurt. And I think the girls, gauging from their coaches' speeches and what was said to them after the game, they knew. But revenge is sweet, because when we played them in district, we got them just as good, if not better, than what they did to us. So that was resilience right there in our girls. So they didn't forget, and they came back and battled for us. I'd like to start off by calling up our coaches, who obviously a crucial part of our success here and what we did over the summer. And obviously, it takes a team effort. So I'd like to call up Mr. Victor Sanchez. And we'd like a special thank to Mr. Sanchez, Victor, because he's the one that got this going for us. So without him, without his willing to do this for us, we wouldn't be here tonight. So thank you, Victor. Also, Mr. Andy Bastien. Mr. Kim. And as you guys may know, behind us as coaches here, We couldn't have done it without our team mom, who just did an awesome job, and I'm sure all our parents can attribute to that, is Linda Reyes. Come up, Linda. Come up, Linda. When you look to our dugout during the game, you saw our dugout was quiet and order. Girls knew what they were supposed to do, and we couldn't have done that without Linda. So thank you very much, Linda. Now to recognize our players. Summer Johnson. Kimmy. Jaden. Megan. Maddie. Katrina. Haley. Isabella. Sarah. I'm sorry, and Sarah's not here today, but she's at camp, so we'll have her mom come up for her. And of course, we appreciate, and these are the actual jerseys worn in the tournament, so I'm glad that they're still in one piece and little stained, but that's part of the game. Miranda. Amanda. Michaela. And Dina. That's a yes.
Okay, if I could have your attention. Oh, everybody's on the big screen. The what do they call it, Teletron or whatever it is? Okay, we've had, going back to the presentations on the bookmark contest, Alan Zhao has joined us here a little bit late, so we'd like to give him the certificate, and he'll get it.
Okay, we still have one more team to go. You know, it's a kind of a bittersweet thing, I think, for myself to honor these students, but it makes me miss those days of being out there on the field and participating at Live Oak Park. But you know, it's nice to see that we've got some great families and some great kids that are coming up, and you know, things move on, and hopefully as a council, as our park commission, you know, we can continue to provide facilities for all of you to use, and believe me, it is a priority for all of us up here. So, you know, your success is our success. So, you know, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job at it. So, I'd like to now call up Dave I know I'm going to mess this up, but Espedia? Is that close enough? Dave? We'll call him Dave, all right? All right. And Dave is the coach of the 8 and under All-Star team, and we'll let him talk a little bit about the team and call up the players as well. So, Dave, it's all yours.
8 and under is a pretty tough division to coach. I mean, you got attention span, you've got girls not wanting to go to practice after a long day, but they showed up, they worked hard, and it paid off. We had a tough get-go in the beginning, and as the season went on, they became really, really good ball players. So as we got to tournament, again, our first tournament we lost, we got completely blown out, and a lot of girls were kind of bummed out, parents were bummed out, you could see it in their faces. But as we kept working and working 4 days a week, they came around and became a really, really good team. As we got to district, I remember one team coming up to us and asking us where Temple City was. We told them where they were, and I think from now on, they know who Temple City is. So and that's our goal, is obviously to get more girls, you know, playing softball. A lot of us have younger daughters who are going to come up and play, and hopefully we set the standard for those girls coming up, that every year, hopefully, we're back to state. So again, without further ado, I mean, it all starts with coaching. Frank Blanco. Kevin Bateman. And of course, our team mom, Audrey Gonzalez. Now, players, we have Bella, Carissa, Sheridan, Alyssa, Ella, Victoria Martinez, who couldn't be here tonight, Andrea, Jasmine, Victoria, Lila Salcido, who couldn't be here tonight, Megan Simpson, who couldn't be here tonight, Molly, and Bella. There's the 8U team.
All right, thank you. Thank you all for coming. You now know where the city council chambers are. It's amazing how many people in town ask them, have you ever been to a council meeting? They say, no, I don't even know where you guys meet. So you're way ahead of a lot of the people in town here. So thank you for coming here. As Mayor Pro Tem said, your energy energizes us, and it's really neat. So thank you.
Wow, that you cleaned the house, Clark.
Just got rid of all of them.
No more audience, huh?
Jerry, it's just gonna be you.
That's ball games more important. Ball games are more interesting than council meetings.
Is he here or did he leave?
He was outside.
No.
I think he was outside, wasn't he? He'll be on TV. Meeting's over, right? Yeah, game's over.
Another 5 minutes or so.
Oh, there's a group waiting to come in.
We got the chamber people out there.
Yeah. I never realized that we may have an overflow crowd where we have to let the first group out and bring the second group in. And,
So they could.
so we'll wait a few minutes here. Yeah. Yeah, for those that haven't been here watching at home, in the lobby area, we do have a wide screen out there where you can see the council meeting, even if you're not sitting in the council chambers here. So for overflow meetings such as this, we have that set up. And here comes all the regulars that lost their seats. Okay, if we can proceed, there's one other person I'd like to introduce at this point. Battalion Fire Chief Mark Tolbert. Is Mark here? Is he still? Come on up. I'd like to welcome you to Temple City. I know the battalion chiefs don't necessarily get around here all the time, but if you'd like to say a few words.
I really didn't have anything to say other than your city is going to be well protected with LA County Fire Department.
All right, that's
All
good
right.
enough.
Good job.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we now go to the item 6 on the agenda, which is public comments on items not listed on the agenda. I have one speaker that signed up. If anybody cares to speak, fill in one of these forms here, give it to the city clerk, and I have Karen Noyes from the library program. Not only did she bring the kids, but she's got some programming to tell us about.
I wish they stayed, though. You haven't gotten rid of me yet. So, yeah, it's December. I'm amazed. In addition, we have a lot of exciting learning opportunities in December at your library, in addition to our regular story times and computer classes and workshops. Of interest, we have on Saturday, December 6th, a Chinese calligraphy appreciation workshop. We have a winter art activity with a surprise guest on December 13th for the children. We have a Frozen party that was rescheduled for this month since last month our library had a little flood. We're okay, but the party will go on. And we have citizenship classes. We have a housing law clinic. We have a greeting card workshop. And we have some additional insurance-related classes this upcoming month. In terms of the holidays, the library is closed on December 25th, Christmas Day. However, we are open on the Friday, the 26th. So we're open, and please visit us. We'd love to see you for the holidays. And That is about it for the month. I'm open to any questions, yes?
Can I just ask about the Tuesday covered California
Yes.
sessions? I think those are vital to our community. And are those sponsored by Senator Hernandez by any chance?
I don't know. I believe, I'll ask. I will ask the manager. I don't know. I know that they are free. They don't charge anything. There's nothing to sell.
And I know there's a lot of people who still have a lot of questions about the healthcare, so
Yes,
please
it's
come out.
very
and-
popular. We have, she comes out it seems all the time. She's here all the time. She's really great. She's signed a lot of people up, and like you said, it's a very important it's very important for the library and very important for this community and all our libraries too.
So thank you for providing that.
Our pleasure, anything.
Okay.
Okay,
Anybody
thank
else have
you.
any questions? Okay, thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who would care to speak under public comments at this time? If there's not, I will close public comments. We will now move to item 7 on the agenda, which is the consent calendar. All consent calendar items may be approved in a single motion as recommended unless removed for further discussions. If members of the city council or persons in the audience wish to discuss any matters listed, please address them at this time. Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Mayor Bloom, I didn't plan on pulling anything off the consent calendar, but I think I saw representatives either from the Olson Company in here with a piece of art that maybe you might want to share. It looks pretty nice. I hate to not at least comment it.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and pull item G from the consent calendar.
Okay?
And I don't know, I do notice that there are also members here from Temple City Chamber of Commerce. We know we have a matter on our consent calendar. Did anyone want to speak about that? Or if not, we'll just leave it alone. Well, not now, but if you do, okay. Well, we'll pull item F as well then.
Okay?
So F and G.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar except for items F and G.
Second?
Motion approved?
Okay?
Second.
Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No one's opposed, therefore the consent calendar except items F and G have been approved. We'll do item F first, which is the First Amendment to the city's professional service agreement with the Temple City Chamber of Commerce. Just a little background on this. The council met with the Chamber's Board of Directors about a month and a half to 2 months ago in a joint session to talk about what we should have in our agreement with them. We came to some agreement on what would be in it, so what's on the agenda here tonight is just basically approving that. And if anyone from the chamber would care to say anything more than I said, Jane Chavez, who's the chairman of the board of directors from the Chamber of Commerce. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Carl Bloom, council members of the Temple City. I just want to, as the new chair of the Temple City Chamber of Commerce, thank you for the opportunity for the meeting that we had to come together. We look forward to a prosperous year of working with the city, and it's a pleasure to work with the council that we have here in Temple City. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion that we approve item F.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is anyone opposed? No one's opposed. Item F is unanimously approved. We'll go to item G, which is the approval of the Linden Walk sculptural design. And just a little bit of background, Linden Walk is the development, or Brian, are you going to give that spiel?
You're more than welcome to, Mayor, if you'd like.
Linden Walk is the new housing development that is being built. I believe there's 74 units down off Lower Azusa Road, right near the tracks, just a little bit east of Encinita, where the old lumber yard used to be down there. And the Olson Company has been doing a good job down there, and we have an item here. Part of the agreement we had with them was to, as we were starting to introduce some public art into the city, is that they would be one of the first ones to help us start doing that. And I see you've got one of the pieces here, and feel free to give us a little, or Brian, or whoever wants to do it here.
I'm sorry?
I'm happy to go unless you have a few things you'd like to say first.
No,
Oh, okay.
please go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Again, I'm Steve Armanino with the Olson Company. Very nice to be before you at the, what we believe will hopefully be the final approval for the art piece out at the Linden Walk development. We've had a couple of great productive meetings with the Arts Commission, and we have a recommendation for you. And in fact, I have Greg Hawthorne, the public artist here. He'll give you a little bit of background on the piece and the inspiration of the art piece. In terms of the technical aspects, I think a lot of those were covered during those first two meetings with the Art Commission. So why don't I go ahead and turn this over to Greg and let him say a few words about the art. Thank you.
Good.
Hello, Mayor and the City Council. Nice to meet you. My name's Greg Hawthorne. I'm from Big Sur, California. My studio is in Big Sur, and we do a lot of large sculptures for different cities and different organizations. Yours was brought to my attention, and I was pretty thrilled to be part of this whole part of the city. What it is the Linden Walk is between the spillway and the railroad tracks. And it was, looking at the piece of property, you know, I did receive pictures of it, and I thought, well, this is going to be an interesting thing, what they were going to have to come up with. And actually, the Olson Company came up with a great concept. It's really well done. And they said, well, what could we do for a sculpture? So I put it together, and I thought it was kind of interesting because it's a balance between these two things on their perimeter. They have the railroad tracks and the spillway, and they're going down the middle. So I thought we should make the sculpture to kind of be a little bit reminiscent of that idea. And this is what his balance came up, is what we call it. And it'll be 12 feet high. It's stainless steel and steel. And it should be pretty amazing on Azusa. When you come in on Azusa, and you'll be able to see this piece, the sun will hit it, and it really kind of has that definition of balance and so forth. Maybe we could bring that and spin it around a little bit for these guys to see. And you can see it depicts a feeling of a balanced structure in there, and you can see it from both sides. But as you approach it, maybe we turn it a little bit this way so these guys can see it on this end too. So, yeah, that's great. And what it'll do, each side that you come approach the sculpture, will be interesting because you'll have one view coming one direction, but it's a mirror image on the other, but it has a completely different feel, which I think the Linden Walk has that feel when you approach it from different angles. And I hope it's a big success for your city, and I hope the sculpture actually catches a lot of people too as you come into the city. But anyway, I hope you all enjoy it and like it, and it'll be 12 feet in the air, so it's going to be quite a statement coming across.
Very nice.
Do you have any questions, anybody?
Good.
I'd be happy to answer.
Anybody have any questions?
I think there are also some other art components as well besides the sculpture, aren't there?
There's a contribution.
I know, but I mean, I thought there was within it. There's some other art components, I think, inside. Are you just doing the sculpture?
I'm doing the sculpture,
Oh, okay.
and then there's the landscape architecture, and they're going to do a lot of different things like that.
Yeah, 'cause there's some-
I mean, it's a whole group of people that are coming together to make this entry. Yeah, it's supposed to be. Yeah, the feng shui should be perfect when we're all finished. I'm hoping. So but anyway, it should be quite a statement for your city. And again, thank you very much for letting me participate.
Greg, thank you for your artistic skills in putting this together. And Steve, thank you. And for those that may not know it, part of our agreement with the Olson Company is not only would they do a sculpture here, but they're also contributing $150,000 to our public art fund that we will get as they draw permits. So that will be sort of the starting of our public arts program with our Public Arts Commission. So we thank you for helping us get that all started and everything. So.
And thank you for staying on target, and it's just progressing so nicely. So we couldn't be more pleased. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with
you all
that,
so
I'll
much. We
entertain a
appreciate it.
motion to approve this item.
Motion to approve item G.
Second?
Then moved and seconded. Anyone opposed, or let's say all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay, it's unanimously approved. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Sure. We don't need, okay. Steve, thank you very much. Greg?
Thank you very much. Good to see you again. That's great. Look forward.
Okay, we will now go to item 8 on the agenda, which are public hearings. We have no public hearings this evening. We'll go to item 9, which is unfinished business. Item 9A is the fiscal year 2014-15 city budget, first quarter budget amendments. I believe Tracy House, Administrative Services Director, is going to give a report.
Thank
or
you.
City Manager.
We're going to do it together, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
So good evening, Mayor and City Council. We typically don't pull this item out. We typically put this on the consent agenda. But we pulled out tonight specifically, the City Manager would like to point out a particular budget amendment that he's proposing this evening. If you have any other questions on the report, I'd be glad to answer them.
So, Mayor Bloom, members of the council, typically in most cities I've been in, we go through these kind of budget amendment processes, and you have a very transparent process here. And we pulled the other item, and I'll talk a little bit more about the first quarter financial status report also too, and some of the issues to kind of point out here. One thing I wanted to point out, and just to not put it on consent, was we are requesting for the management services function $40,000 for economic development services. And part of the reason we can do that is in the last couple meetings, what you have approved is two components of about an additional $200,000 of unanticipated revenue that you'll be receiving. One from a lawsuit with Los Angeles County over property admin fees, and a second program initiated by Ms. House and her department related to delinquent property tax revenue. So in terms of what's happening with your fund balance, this is just taking a portion of what was some unanticipated revenue and budgeting it that way. Again, one of the things from our perspective as staff is we don't really like to do off-cycle budgeting. We want to have a budget that's adopted in June, and here's your work plan and the appropriations that you're allowing us to use to fulfill that work plan throughout the year. There are times when we need, I came on in September after the adoption of the budget, so this will allow me to at least initiate some activity, and I have done an informal RFQ of of economic development services from some experts, strong ethical folks out there that can provide us with some unique services beyond what we have with staff already, to provide us with another sense of what the marketplace looks like and what other issues are out there that we can capture in developing a full-fledged economic development plan. With that being said, too, we'll talk about how this kind of process kind of moves forward from a budgetary standpoint. It also allows me to give a segue to the public, too, that in January, we will be doing somewhat of a kickoff of the budget process. But one of the things we're going to be doing, and this is Mrs. House, who's working strenuously day and night with this, is our 5-year budget forecast. So the 5-year budget forecast won't replace this, but it will kind of mirror and allow us to kind of track both what are we doing on a quarterly basis, but what does it mean in terms of the 5-year forecast. So one of the reasons we wanted to bring this to your attention is to say, there's not any appropriations that are just coming out of the wind and we're taking it and there's not money for it, or we didn't have anticipating offsetting revenue that would come with that. So that was one of the reasons we pulled this off the agenda, just so we could have that, bring that to your attention as you consider this item.
I would also just like to add, as you recall, that every February we do a really comprehensive mid-year budget review. We'll be doing that again this year. But we're in good shape.
Okay. Okay, any questions from council members? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor Bloom, I would make a motion that we authorize staff to revise various budgeted appropriations for fiscal year 2014-2015 city budget as indicated in attachment A to ensure actual spending levels are within budgeted appropriations during the current fiscal year.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No one's opposed. This item has been unanimously carried. We'll now go to item 9B, which is the first quarter financial status report.
Sure, and usually Ms. House would take this one, and I'll take this one because I actually put it on, took it off consent also. The trick with the first quarter of any fiscal year in terms of municipalities is that if you're looking at it from a revenue standpoint, the revenues aren't really coming in, depending on the cycle of when revenues come in for cities. In property tax, it's a different part of the fiscal year. So July through September really does not give you an accurate picture of what is trending related to revenues. So as part of the budget discussion in mid-year, we'll talk about, this time next year, we may have a replacement report to this that may be tracking more the expenditure side rather than the revenue side. So you may come this time next year, you may see a bit of a tweak to this report as the way you see it now. And secondarily, across the board, we are doing very well, and I'll let Ms. House just kind of talk about a couple things that she's doing that's not necessarily reflected in the report, but some of the internal tracking that we do and Ms. House does to ensure that we, for lack of a better term, are on track.
Thanks, Brian. One of the things that I've been working on over the past couple weeks is our year-end financial statements. And with that goes quite a bit of analysis. And obviously the most important thing to you as the policy makers, decision makers, is, where we are in our fund balance. And I can tell you that we ended up June 30th in an operating surplus by about $300,000. And we are going to see some growth in our unassigned fund balance. And if any of you would like to go over more of those details with me, I'd be glad to share those with you. As far as the first quarter in this fiscal year, we're doing well. Revenues are coming in at a faster pace than they did last year at this time. We're seeing a little bit of we just had a look at our sales tax today, and we're seeing a slight increase in our sales tax. And as Brian indicated, general fund revenues do come in on a cyclical basis. In other words, we don't get 1/12 of our property tax in the month of July. We get our major property tax payments in December, January, and April. So the first quarter sometimes may look a little skewed, but based on where we are to date, based on last year's collections, we're in good shape. And I can say the same with expenditures. We're on target with that. So if you have any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, any questions from anyone? Okay, it's a good report. We're glad to see that we're in the black as we plan to be. And so thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council receive and file the first quarter financial status report.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Unanimously carried. We will now go to item 10 on the agenda. It's new business. I believe we have one item. Item A is the installation of an all-way stop control at the intersection of Longden Avenue and Encinita Avenue. I believe the Community Development Director, Michael Forbes, will take the lead on this presentation.
Thank you. Yes, I'm actually going to hand it over to Melissa Demirci from Transtech, who will be making the presentation.
Good evening, Council and Councilwoman, Councilmen, and Mayor. I'll go ahead and start as Michael pulls up the map. The Transportation and Public Safety Commission has recommended for Council to approve the installation of an all-way stop control at the intersection of Encinita Avenue and Longden. I'm going to briefly go over our engineering analysis that staff completed to see if this intersection met the criteria for an all-way stop. residents have expressed to the city that it's difficult for vehicles to cross or turn onto Longden Avenue via Encinitas. If you take a look at the map, you can see that that curve is actually a downward slope, so vehicles are traveling at fast speeds through that intersection. Currently, the east-westbound direction on Longden is not stop controlled, while the north-southbound direction on Encinitas is. So I don't know if any of you live nearby, but when you are trying to make a turn onto Longden from Encinitas, it is very difficult to see oncoming traffic, especially when vehicles are traveling at high speeds. Another concern that was looked at is all of the residents' driveways within that block. It's also difficult for them to back out of their driveways due to the curve, line of sight, and the high speeds. Also, if you could kind of zoom out of the map to the east of the intersection, you also have the Longden Elementary School as well as the Oak Avenue intersection, which is stop controlled. So you have a lot of people also traveling down to kind of get that green light at Oak Avenue. Staff followed all the guidelines for stop control outlined in the California Vehicle Code and the California Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. And per the codes, a count was completed, and we found that 8,900 vehicles per day were passing through that intersection using both Encinitas and Longden. We also did an accident study as part of our investigation, and we found that there was one recorded accident in 2013, and this was a southbound through vehicle that hit a westbound through vehicle. So you can see it's exactly kind of what we're proposing to eliminate, these type of accidents due to line of sight issues. So based on the geometrics of the street and our engineering analysis, at this time, we do recommend council to approve the installation of an all-way stop. That would mean the installation of 2 stop signs on Longden, since there's already existing stops on Encinitas, as well as all accompanying stop ahead signage, stop pavement legend, and also an all-way stop plaque underneath each stop sign. And if you have any questions, we would be happy to answer them.
Just a quick question on the stop ahead sign. Is that blinking or is that?
It's just going to be the
Just
standard stop sign.
Standard stop,
Yes.
reflective.
Reflective, the
yeah.
standard, yeah.
Yeah, I guess one of the questions I have, obviously, people go zipping through this intersection at this time, and that stop sign, if you're going eastbound, you're not going to see the stop sign until you're into the curve. And I think Councilmember Yu was sort of heading the same direction. I mean, what type of warning are people going to have so we don't end up, especially in the beginning here, where people that are stopping in Encinitas going north or southbound say, aha, I got a 4-way stop here, so I can charge out here, and somebody coming down Longden's not paying any attention that things have changed here. And I think I'm a little bit concerned as we go through this transition. I agree that I think we need this, but I'm just a little leery on how we implement this and make sure that people are aware that it's there, whether it's a temporary blinking yellow or something to catch their attention, and a bigger stop sign than the normal stop sign, because you come around that corner and you're going to have to catch it fairly quickly because of the sight distance.
That's a very valid point, and one of the implements that we are going to be doing is stop ahead signs. So before the curve, we are going to put signage and pavement legends that alert drivers that there is a stop sign coming. We could look into larger stop signs. That's definitely in our realm and something that can also be installed if council wants to go in that direction. I think it would add visibility, especially considering the school in really close proximity. Again, I wanted to stress that there's no crosswalk, so that is not something we're recommending at this time. We are only recommending a stop control at this area.
Okay.
That was my question, are there going to be crosswalks there? Since it's so close to the school, I would think that people would have an inclination, especially if there's a stop sign there, to want to cross. It's my understanding that because of the intersection, they can cross there, even without the crosswalk, of course. But so what was the determination, or why was it made not to put a crosswalk in there versus putting one in there? Is there some reason for that?
Yeah, well, with crosswalks, we want to be really careful with installation of crosswalks because crosswalks give a false sense of security to school-age children, especially considering that there's an elementary school. So we didn't want to give that notion, especially due to the curve and the downward slope. It wouldn't be an ideal situation, an intersection to install the crosswalk due to that. Even though it is stop controlled, we still don't want to encourage people to cross using it. That's why we wouldn't want to install a crosswalk. There's a lot of studies that show that when you do a crosswalk, people don't tend to look, and they tend to think that those lines are going to protect them. And we recommend to stay away from that at this particular intersection.
I remember attending a JPIA conference a few years ago, and the title of the session was, you want to put a stop sign where? And it basically addressed the liability issues of perhaps what may sound like a good idea in putting a stop sign, when in reality it may not be, depending on the circumstances. So I guess my question to you is, has this issue, or should have this issue have been run by our JPIA liability carriers? And is that something we traditionally do or not?
If I can speak for Melissa on this issue for a second, that's a good question, Mayor Pro Tem. And in a lot of cases, we will give, when there are bigger issues, sometimes we will run that by them. It's hard to get a take from them on the specific conditions and issues that we may be facing that may not have a uniform application from a risk analysis standpoint from JPIA. If that's a standard practice that the council would like us to look at with that, they may not be able to give us that clear of an opinion. They do act as our pseudo risk manager in that sense. There are, for lack of a better term, standard operating procedures that they'll have in certain areas. We can take a look and ask them if this is one of those areas that they do have kind of standard operating procedures that they would cover us for. So we have a memorandum of understanding and coverage as a member of JPIA, which most of the council is very familiar with. Within that scope, the coverage of liability is pretty broad. So it would be really about a conversation we would have with JPIA about really what standards or standard operating procedures are they looking for in defending a claim that may come down the line by actions. My gut tells me that they will defer to what the state guidelines are on these situations, but that's definitely a conversation that we can have with them. We don't really have a set answer to that right now, but that's a conversation we can have with them on an ongoing basis.
Well, I think that's a conversation that needs to be had sooner than later, because every time we go to one of their conferences, they keep urging us, the members, to run these things by them. As our risk manager, as the one who's going to be covering us for things like this, I would think that they would be a necessary player in any time we do something of this sort. I'm sure that TransTech has done their job, as they always do, very well in making sure that this complies with state guidelines and all those things. But a component of that, of course, is the legal issues that invariably come up whenever you put stop signs or anything having to do with traffic, especially in an area such as this where, the lawyer in me tells me that, someone could easily make an argument that, there hadn't been a stop sign there forever, it wasn't really that clearly marked, it's on an area where it's hard to see. There's just a whole bunch of things that come into my mind, and I would rather have that at least a look at by JPIA, and let them tell us, well, look, this is, yes, this is a good idea, no, it's a bad idea, or we can't really give you an opinion one way or another. At least we're covered that way. I think sort of preventative legal as we do with, medical procedures, looking at things ahead of time, as I think our city attorney would probably agree, is probably the best practices. So,
If I may suggest, if we can have maybe that conversation first a little broad and then narrow it down, so let's see how that conversation goes with CJPIA about where they're at in terms of, and I'm getting refamiliarized with the JPIA from my prior employer too, so a little re-education for me and for some of our staff that haven't dealt with them on an ongoing basis.
And I don't think that's anybody's fault, and I'm not trying to place the blame, but I don't think we've taken advantage enough of what JPIA can offer to us. We, just like any other insurance carrier, we pay a premium, and I think we need to get our money's worth from that. And they're more than willing, at least as I think we all have gone to their conferences, they always tell us that, look, let us know, we'll send somebody out there, we'll talk to you about it, and, we'll say yes, no, maybe, whatever the case may be. So you're right, we do need to get some course, and I do know we have a new, I don't know if she's new, but we do have someone that's assigned to this area, and
Maria
and
Galvan.
You probably, I think
And
you've
Tracy's
already
met
met
with her
her, or
too.
Tracy has
The
met her.
risk manager.
The risk manager, yeah, so,
Yeah.
so they look at all these kind of things, but that, when I looked at this report, that's what the first thing that came into my mind is, do you want to put a stop sign where? And it was a conference, it was obviously given by lawyers, lawyers always are concerned about these things, and, I just think it's a good practice to get into it. And so, that's for another day, but hopefully that day will come sooner than later.
Will do, sir.
All right.
But I think I would second that opinion. I think that earlier, that's why I think both the mayor and I asked about the visibility, especially on the street that has a curve and people are traditionally not stopping. And even with the stop ahead sign, and I follow what you said. I'm sorry.
Good thing Tom O'Leary's not here.
Yeah.
Not Kathy?
Sorry.
Didn't hear me.
Yeah, turn that off. That's why I was asking, maybe a blinking sign, just so that you can draw people attention, so that they can see. I'm not actually talking about a stop sign being blinking, I'm talking about a stop ahead sign being blinking, because that's still on the straight, you can still see it. I look at your design, and I appreciate that a lot of thought had gone into it, but just to support what the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem had just said. I think JPIA, and that's my recollection too, is that they always said, you have special conditions, bring that to our attention, so.
That corner there, I believe, is the home that has the beautiful hydrangeas. And they also block the view because they've been there forever and they're huge and they're so prolific with flowers when they're in season.
The sunflowers.
And I think that's.
That is that
And
house.
that's the house that have been winning Christmas lighting awards too, so.
Is that your house? That's your house, isn't it?
Yeah, but you're talking about the one across the street.
Yeah, he's just. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Sago Palms.
The hydrangeas are in front of the house, but the sable palms are what.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, are there any other questions at this time?
Well, if you turn to, I think you guys have the staff report in front of you, page 16 of 16, that is where the recommended improvements diagram is. There were additional items I didn't specifically mention, was we would, as well as the stop ahead signs, we would also update to larger, more reflective signs for curve ahead. Right now, the existing signs, one of them's turned, the other one isn't that visible, so we would add more visibility to updating those signs, and also install speed limit signs, just as an additional reminder to let drivers know it's speeding. And some other measures, we can do is get enforcement there if council decides to approve it, to see and monitor that stop sign as it's newly installed.
Okay.
I hate to keep beating a dead horse, but, our legal system is so crazy that there would be an argument made that these additional measures are more of a distraction to people that may even cause an accident rather than prevent an accident. And I think that's where JPIA and their expertise comes into play. It's just another set of eyes of risk management, from a risk management situation that I think we really need to start utilizing a little bit more, especially in these kind of items.
Okay, are there any other council Okay, I'd like to open it, thank you, Melissa, right now. I'd like to open it for public comments, if there's anybody from the public who would care to speak. I know we've got some people that live near the corner there. Come on up and give your name and address and give us your input, please.
Sure. I'm Bruce Rudder, and I live on the northwest corner there. And we've been there watching misses, near misses, and lots of accidents. We also own the house on Loma and Longden, which the curve ahead sign is in, and the slow sign, which people drive by and don't even look at. But anyway, I think a stop sign is necessary there. Would be a big help. We've had, because there is no stop sign there, at least 2 cars in our front yard. And the house on Loma, we've had one set of kids that bounced off a couple of things and into the pine tree in the front yard and across to the other house. One guy with a Corvette wrapped around the telephone pole at 2 in the morning. But anyway, the kids do cross there, and we did have one girl hit there and knocked up onto our sidewalk because it's a very wide corner. And without the crosswalks, I don't know why they don't cross sooner, but they do not. You know, they come there and they cross over. Kids on bikes, skateboards, they just roll through it and take a quick glance both ways, and just by luck that there's nobody coming. A couple cars have been turned over there. So I think with some warning signs and a couple of stop signs, it's a good addition to safety on that corner.
Okay?
Okey-doke.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. Okay, anyone else care to speak under public comments at this time?
Hi, Nanette Fish. I just want you to know I'm a 30-year resident, and I actually avoid that corner just because you cannot see when you are actually trying to make, especially a left-hand turn onto Longden. I know there's lots of residents that agree with me that they actually avoid it, especially during the peak hours when the school is getting out. That's when the traffic is horrible. The second thing I wanted to say is about 15 years ago, there was a stop sign that was put in front of La Rosa. I live right by La Rosa. It was a new stop sign. It went from 2 to 4. And there were a lot of screeching. There was a lot of people who missed it. But I think that's just because they weren't familiar. Again, it was a brand new stop sign. But because it's by a school, it really needs to be a 4-way stop. So, you know, people have to get used to it. That's just kind of the way it is. I realize, though, with the curve, it is kind of like a blind curve. Maybe with the flashing lights would probably be one of the best things. But like I said, people are going to have to get used to it. They did it at La Rosa. It worked out great. But, you know, for a couple of weeks, we did have a lot of near misses. A lot of people. I don't know if people will agree with me, but when you start driving, especially in your neighborhood, you don't pay attention. You're almost driving automatically. So we're going to need more signage there if we do put a 4-way stop, but I do think we need one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else? Let's see.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Jim Cliff, 6012 Encinita, which is just south of that intersection. And for the 20-whatever years I've been living there, this is one of those, like Nan said, you kind of tend to avoid because of the speeds and the line of sight issues. So in my opinion, it has needed stop signs for a long time. If we're concerned about people not seeing it, my thought was to put a stop ahead sign right at Loma and Longden there, which would be over here on the east side, and then across the street, right where the curve begins, another one that you can see when you're going eastbound, and you'd have a double stop ahead sign. And maybe another thing to do before you even get there, before there's any other pavement markers, is put some of those raised bumps that they have like between the lanes on the freeway, so people will get some kind of feedback on there.
The neighbors may not like those.
Either that or traffic collisions.
That bumps don't always
Well, it
solve
gets
the problem.
It'll get their attention.
Ask the
And-
people in Pasadena.
Oh, yeah, they
You
have
may
this-
try to drive around it.
the speed humps.
There's
Well,
not-
if they would
that's
be,
not a cure.
if they would be in the middle of the lane. But the thing is, it is, because it's a curve and because it's a downgrade going east, and it's a really nice, street to race around if you got a car that sticks to the road, people do tend to drive fast on Longden. And north and south traffic will have a difficult time unless there's some type of traffic control there. And that's my observations. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak at this time? Okay, if not, I will close public comments. Melissa, do you have any other input at this point? or-
Well, just hearing, council's input and the public comments, there are additional flashing beacons, flashing signs that are, in par with something that we could install there. It's something that it meets the criteria. There's definitely a line of sight issue. Cars are traveling at high speeds. There's no other stop in close vicinity to the west at those intersections, so they really pick up as they approach the Encinita intersection. So those are things that we can implement as well.
Have you determined that there is a speeding problem there? Have we checked with the sheriff? Has anybody gone out there? And I know that when we have speeding issues in certain parts of the town, we've put up different signage, and we've had sheriffs stay out there for a while. Has any of that been done in this particular area?
We did conduct a radar speed survey along that entire segment that stretched beyond the scope of that intersection. And Longden Avenue is actually 35 miles per hour. And even though the curve warning signs do tell you to slow down,
It's posted at 35?
yes,
Because when I'm looking at your diagram here, it looks like the post-its are 25.
that's for the turning curve. So when you approach, there's turning
So it
curve
goes from
signs.
The straight part of Longden is 35. but When
Correct.
it starts approaching the curve section, it goes down to 25.
As a suggestion
Maybe
for
we
the
should
curve.
turn it down to 25 the whole way. I don't know. Okay, just one last question. You indicated that, I believe you said that your research indicated there was only one accident in that particular area?
We,
But I've heard tonight that it sounds like there are many more than one accident.
I heard that too. We use the state of California statewide integrated traffic record system as our source. Something to keep in mind is a lot of accidents typically don't get reported. So these are on record recorded accidents. I don't know if maybe the city has additional records of accidents.
And where
or-
did that accident take place, do you know?
This accident that was recorded was at Encinitas Longden, and it was a southbound through vehicle traveling on Encinitas, hitting a westbound through vehicle.
And when did that occur?
This happened January 2013.
Recently.
And we only went back to the last 4 years as per the guidelines, but, if you wanted to do a full-blown traffic analysis, they do include 10-year data as part of their backup.
Okay, are there any other comments, Tom?
No.
Vince, any other comments?
No.
Okay, Cindy?
There's a similar four-way stop sign that was put near my parents' home, and unfortunately, there's been a few accidents since the stop signs were put in, and one was my daughter going to visit her grandmother, and the car in front of her was stopping. There were 3 other cars stopped, and then the car proceeded to go. The other car went. The car in front of her stopped suddenly, and she plowed it into the back. So I think that's always a risk, but now, including myself, I'm very conscious that coming to that four-way stop sign, I need to slow down, I need to stop. And it took some training, I think, from the people in the area to get accustomed to the stop signs. But I think that I attended that same conference that Mayor Pro Tem went to, and a lot of the examples that they used were coming around a curb on a highway where people are traveling pretty fast, and then all of a sudden you out of nowhere, there's a stop sign. So a lot of some cars lost control, went over the end, went over the side. But I think that it would be wise to proceed with putting the four-way stop. I mean, you can always take it off if it causes more problems, I would imagine. But I think that corner is that section is an at-risk, especially with the kids traveling there. Can you put no crossing signs up? Is that a possibility? Or, I've seen those, like when you take your driver's test and it's an X and a person there, no crossing, so that people won't cross. I mean, they still might, obviously, but are there no crossing signs?
For residential streets, it's a little bit different. So that's
Okay.
something we would have to look at, because there's technically no jaywalking in a residential street. You could
Right.
walk anywhere, so that would be something we would have to look at the guidelines and confirm.
You can put it, sorry. You can put no crossing, but normally the reason it's not striped is that legally you can cross at intersection. But they found that if it's not striped, that people tend to hesitate on the curb before they step out onto it. So we're not saying you can't cross there, because there are residents. We just want them to be careful when they cross, to look twice, think about it. And normally they do if it's not a striped crosswalk. At least going across Longden.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any other? Okay. Anybody want to make a motion at this point?
Before we make a motion, I want to suggest that, and I think the design is good, I mean, the analysis is good, but obviously, the council, I think, pretty much unanimously has some concerns. And I think that maybe we get into weeds by suggesting, because we're not doing the analysis here, by suggesting such as blinking signs and other devices, and that the Mayor Pro Tem brought up checking in with the JPIA. And so I'm wondering whether we should perhaps table this item until next time, when staff can probably check in with JPIA and perhaps take some of our comments back to, for consideration, and take a look and then come and bring this item back to us in a future meeting, so.
Okay, would you like to?
I tend to agree, because, we've been talking about different measures, blinking lights, things like that. But as we've seen, if you paid attention, in Arcadia, there was a situation a number of years ago where they have those blinking crosswalks. And one would think that would try to avoid accidents, when in fact, I believe the court ruled that may have led to the accident itself. So it's not that clear-cut an issue always, and it's beyond my expertise, and I think anybody up here, other than Melissa and TransTech, but I tend to agree. I think if, to do our due diligence, I would be more comfortable if at least we have JPIA look at this and give us their input, whatever it may be. And that way we have, for me anyway, a full understanding of what we're doing. I'd rather do that. I mean, there hasn't been a stop sign there forever, as long as I've known. To delay another couple of weeks, I don't know that that's necessarily going to be a determining factor or something.
Okay, it looks like we're all nodding our head. Would somebody care to make a motion at this point?
Mr. Mayor, I move that that staff would take this item back and study it more, and also check in with JPIA and bring this back to us at the future dates.
Okay, I have a motion. Could I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, this item has been tabled and sent back to staff at this point to check with JPIA and come back at a future meeting.
We'll move expeditiously with that, sir.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much. Thank you, Melissa and
Thank you.
Transtech
Thank you.
and the residents that have come here. Thank you. Item 11 is communications. There is none. Item 12, update from city manager. Have anything, Mr. Cook?
Excuse me, quick update by Kathy on December 5th event. Invite the community. And along with that, as we get into the holiday season, there'll be a lot of activity happening as we gear up to Lights on Temple City and other great community events. And Kathy will just give a quick update on where we are with that. And
Lights on Temple City is coming up quickly in about 2.5 weeks. It is December 5th, a Friday evening. The event is from 5 to 9 p.m. Here in Temple City Park. We start with our activities at 5. We will have a sled run and 2 snow play areas, as well as free crafts for the children, visits with Santa Claus, of course. There'll be food and other activities, entertainment. We will have a parade on Las Tunas, short parade from Cloverly to Kaufman. It begins at 7 p.m., so the street will be closed probably from about 6:15, 6:30 until about 7:30 or 8 o'clock. The parade includes the high school band, our council members, as well as the current reigning Royal Court from the Camellia Festival. So it's a very short parade. We hope you will all come out. As the parade passes by on Las Tunas, the trees are lit up, and we have gotten the lights installed in the trees. And so it's going to be a great event. We hope the entire community comes out and joins us on December 5th between 5 and 9 p.m.
thank you, Kathy. And lastly, one other issue that's going to be coming before the council is the mayor and staff and I this morning met with our environmental consultant, John Hunter, to talk about 2 major issues: stormwater runoff and the impact of that, and TMDLs. What I can report initially to the council and the mayor, we're doing very well, but there are some mandates that, I'll be very blunt, exceed some level of reasonableness in their implementation. So we will be bringing, in January, we'll have a special meeting or a special time to dedicate to briefing the entire council, one, on the work of Mr. Hunter and what he's been doing over the last year or so, and then secondly, talk about some of the future issues that are out there related to stormwater. Bottom line, this community is a very, very clean community. We are not putting hardly anything into the stormwater system that's going all the way down to Long Beach. We're one of the good examples and one of the stewards of the environment, but there's going to be some other issues that are facing this community, and we'll talk about that at a future date. So,
Who is Mr. Hunter again?
That's another reason why we're bringing Mr. Hunter here. Mr. Hunter is our environmental consultant who tracks and ensures that we are in compliance with the permits related to stormwater runoff.
He doesn't work for us.
No, he's a contract. He's a consultant.
We've hired him?
Yes.
We've had him on staff, and
Along with numerous other cities.
Really?
yeah, and he represents, I would say, more than 20 or 30 cities throughout Southern California. I think you believe he does some work with the county at a minimal level too. So the way that you bring up that question is also prompted, and the mayor brought this up too, prompted us to him actually come and do a presentation, talk about what he's done, and he's done a good job. He's one of the experts in the field and one of the experts in local government to address this issue. So we're going to be bringing that up to you in a future meeting.
How is stormwater defined? What is stormwater? Because I would think.
Can we punt that to the next?
We haven't had any storms recently. I would think you.
Mayor Pro Tem, if we
stormwater, wouldn't you?
if we can punt that to the meeting,
that's probably why our numbers are good. There are no storms.
That's one component. But if you wouldn't mind punting that to that meeting, that would be great.
That helps.
I don't know. All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, item 13, council reports regarding ad hoc or standing committee meetings. The only one does anybody have anything to report? I think.
No.
Since last time, I think the only thing we have going, the Strategic Planning Implementation Committee met on November 13th, provided some additional direction to staff they're coming along quite well and putting stuff together for us. We're going to meet again on December 4th. There's going to be a workshop for the full council on Saturday, January 10th. So get that on your calendar. At that time, we hope to go through and set the priorities for implementation based upon all the stuff we have coming at us.
So is that January 10th date already been set? I know we were talking about it, but we haven't gotten anything on our calendars from
That was,
City
yeah,
Hall.
tentative date. I don't know if Giselle's.
I don't think that's
Okay.
not been
We'll
actually
get
put on our calendars
Yeah, we'll
yet.
get that out to the council.
So if that's a set date, we should get a notice on that.
January
Okay.
10th.
That will go on
We're looking at January 10th, Saturday, yeah.
Staff will follow up. So.
Okay, anybody else have any other reports? I guess the only other one is the city attorney evaluation ad hoc. We met in closed session just before this meeting on that. And so we'll be wrapping up that effort shortly here. Okay, item 14, council items separate from the city manager's regular agenda. Councilmember Sternquist.
Yes, I attended the water conference along with the other three council members up
All of
here.
us were there.
Yep, we were all there, except for Councilmember Viscar, who was on a trip. But I will defer to my other council members who I'm sure would like to share a little bit of, but one of the takeaways for me was the understanding that most people will continue to use water without being mindful of just how much they're using it until the price of water becomes painful. And that water is really one of the best bargains around. So I think with that in mind, there was our San Gabriel, the Upper San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District Representative Charles Trevino, I believe is his last name. And I spoke with him at length about just water issues in the San Gabriel Valley and shared with him our mortuary property and that I had proposed that maybe we could do a drought-tolerant demonstration garden. And he said that he would love to work and partner with our city to do something to bring awareness about the water situation to our residents. So I brought his card, and I'll pass that on to staff so that I know Giselle is working on with Brian on those issues. So I'll pass that on, and maybe we'll see a drought-tolerant garden, demonstration garden there. And then I attended my monthly mosquito abatement meeting, and I serve on the policy committee. So after our regular meeting, we had a policy meeting to discuss what the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito Abatement District can do to people who continually disregard the warrants and the reminders that they need to do mosquito abatement. Green pools, green ponds, people that will have tires in their backyards that accumulate water, old tires, and they get neighbors call and report that their neighbors are not being mindful of mosquito abatement. And they have laws in place, but it seems that most of the mosquito districts have not really utilized the laws that are in place. And so the policy committee met to see if there was any way that cities would partner with mosquito abatement to do something to get the word out that there is a $1,000 fine if you ignore a request from mosquito abatement to eliminate the source of mosquitoes. So I suggested that maybe we use our code enforcement officers who on a regular basis are out in the community. They're looking, they see green pools. They see standing ponds that maybe the water hasn't been cleaned. So they're working on developing an educational program that they can work with city's code enforcement officers to come out to the district, get some training, what to look for, what to report. So I just want to let our residents know that mosquito abatement is becoming a real big issue now that there have been other mosquitoes that have been filtered in from our neighboring cities, especially South El Monte, and Arcadia.
Is that the tiger mosquito?
The tiger mosquito. And there's some variants also that they're looking at to try and see just exactly what they are. So I believe, Brian, is it our next meeting that we're having a presentation from? So we'll have a representative from the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control come out and give a presentation on what to look for, how you can be a good steward of mosquito abatement too. So, and on Charter, Channel 3, they run a feed continually that provides pictures of the various mosquitoes and what to look for. And that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Yu?
I just wanted to just add a little bit to that water conference. I was there. It was very educational, very intense, actually. That Saturday start out at 7:30. We work our way through essentially 8, 9 o'clock at night. And so just mention very briefly some of the things we touch on. We touch on groundwater legislation. We touch on climate change. We touch on reuse of water supply and desalination. All of a sudden, that's becoming possible. We look at watershed management. We also look at water and energy nexus. That is that the water actually represents 20% of the power generated or consumed in the state. In other words, we spend 20% of our power moving water around. So if you can save water, you're also saving energy. So I'll leave the rest to our mayor to report, or Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. Well, the conference is obviously very topical and very timely. I thought it was one of the better contract city conferences in a number of years. Obviously talking about the drought and what we can do. My takeaways, of course, and they talked about, of course, as many of you know, the recent election. We had the water bond that passed. And some of those monies are geared to go to this issue of drought preparedness and the responses. My problem with it is that there were a lot of problems that were discussed. There weren't very many solutions, however. And for me also, they haven't really figured out how local governments can really get involved. And perhaps some of the things that Carl has been talking with this Mr. Hunter and those kind of things, and talking with the Upper San Gabriel Water District and about drought tolerant things, those are all things that we need to do. But the simple things, just using water more efficiently, and of course, increasing the stormwater capture, which is what they discussed as well. Any of you who maybe are a fan of 60 Minutes may have noticed this last Sunday there was a very good session on drought. And of course, California was a highlight of that, and talked about the groundwater. One of the interesting things they said about groundwater supplies is that, we can think of that as sort of like our savings account, sort of like our nest egg, and now we're using it up when we didn't ever think that we were going to have to do that, and now we are. And can we replenish that? Obviously, if there's no storms, it's going to be very difficult to replenish that groundwater. But, we never used to have to rely on it, but now we're relying on it quite a bit. Just to give you some of the numbers, what is it? 39% of the total water in California is groundwater. So there is a lot of groundwater out there. But again, by us using it, by going at it, which is what we have to now because of the drought, it is going to have some long-term effects. The thing that was interesting to me, and one of the sessions that I was really looking forward to, was entitled Potable Reuse and Ocean Desalination. Those of you may be familiar with the ocean desalination process, using ocean water to turn into usable water. as you can imagine, it's very expensive. San Diego has a program, I think, where'd they say it was, in Oceanside, I believe, somewhere in Oceanside.
Yeah.
That they are having a plant that is under construction that will be using pretty fast. San Diego, I think part of the reason they had it in San Diego was also to point out San Diego has to import 83% of their water. Remember, they're at the bottom of the water chain. You know, the water starts up in Northern California, flows down, and they're at the bottom, and obviously there are a lot of people in between that use it. So they've got an even bigger problem down there. So I do remember their comment, though, and it kind of didn't. If you think about it, though, it's kind of interesting. Their motto is "From toilets to tap." I don't know about that, but that's what they're trying to do, and they seem to think that they can do it and pull it off. So, you know, they talked about things like solutions to pollution. I think is what Mr. Hunter is going to perhaps touch on with the stormwater stuff, hopefully. But in all, it was a good program. Upper San Gabriel Water District did talk about the contest, I think, that we're involved in. So they presented that as well. And I think what we have to do is we can't sit back as a local city, as a small participant in this. You know, if we as a city can get on board with these things and learn about what we can do, what our role in all this, hopefully other cities will follow that example and not wait for the state or federal government, because we know how that works sometimes. It doesn't always get there as fast as we would want it. So hopefully, I think Carl is doing a good job in discussing these items with the city manager, and we're going to start looking at those kind of things more seriously as a city, and it you know, it's going to help us in the long run, no question about that. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Before I comment on the conference, I want to thank staff. We had a neighborhood cleanup this past Saturday over on the sort of on the west side of town. So I want to thank staff that was out there. I know Michael was out there and others were out there. So thank you for that effort. On the conference, as Tom said, you know, if 60 Minutes is talking about it, the moderator for the session that we went to, the Contract City session everybody's talking about, the moderator was Val Savala, who she's the person on KCET TV that does the Southern California Connected program. And she was telling us that there were, 4 or 6 or 8 of her recent programs have been addressed to water or drought and those issues. So it became very clear that we're running out of water, and I think faster than most people realize it. And they're working for a lot of solutions. They're looking at these desalinization things. But if you think about that, the water's coming from the north, so all of our plumbing goes from the north to the south. If we do desalinization, which is on the south, basically, we've got to replumb how we get water to where we want to go. Either we got to get it to the top of the existing system where we are. So, I mean, there is no cheap solution to getting out of this. And, you know, we have water. I've always said we have plenty of water in California, but we don't have cheap water anymore. And it's going to get more expensive. And the reality's hitting us. And as Tom said, there's little pieces that we all need to work on, and we're starting to do that. And we've added, as we're looking at our implementation plan on our strategic plan, we've added that whole stormwater water issue that we need to address. We haven't done it very much yet, but we've got to be moving in that direction. So with that, I have nothing else.
Just one real quick comment. I remember in law school, and Eric probably remembers this too, you know, water issues have been around California since day one. I mean, that is a big issue in California. And I remember we had classes just on water law and water rights. And, you know, so this is not a small issue. It's a big issue, and it's coming to a head now because we're running out, as Mayor Bloom said. And you know, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, but, you know, one of those things that we really have to take a hold of. And you know, as most things in our country, where do they start? They start at the ground level. Not ground level, it's don't mean to say that, but they start here at the local government level. We have to do it, and if we can do it, then, you know, hopefully it'll catch on. But I think this council is, by attending these kind of events and looking at these kind of problems, you know, we're smart enough to realize that we need to take care of our own and do what we need to do to ensure that our citizens have the water that they need. So we'll work on that.
If I can just add one little thing, you know, as we were, actually one of the takeaway from the conference is that the water conservation is the cheapest form of water. And as we were looking at what we can do as a local small community, you know, I was actually quite happy and need to comment staff, because I don't know if you all remember the low impact development legislation that I think staff had brought back, and Director Forbes actually was bringing that back to us, and we passed that. You know, we're actually doing quite a bit already from what we as a planner, as a small city can. But so, you know, so it was very comforting to see that we're actually on the forefront, anticipating all the water conservation efforts. So.
Okay, thank you.
Good job.
We'll move to item 15, which is reimbursement of expenses to city officials for conduct of city business and/or city payment of conference expenditures. There is none at this agenda. Item 16, additional public comments on items not listed on the agenda. Anyone care to take advantage of the public comment time? Okay, if not, we will close the additional public comments, and we are now adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Right. Housing?
Hey, Peggy.
Oh, that